What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome to another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Moderno. He's Jihadi White. Jihadi, the Wizards have not won since we talked, so not a whole lot of exciting stuff to talk about there. But I think we can kind of put a good spin on how they can improve a lot of the things, and there's plenty of things to improve. So give us a lot to talk about here today.
Oh yeah, Matt, my man, Matt, my man. Yeah, it's all about perspective, man.
Yep,
They haven't won a lot. They have been playing some good quarters. They
for
have
sure.
done some good things,
Yep.
but in the end of the day, still getting those L's.
Yep. Yeah, that's tough. Good quarters is a good call. We went from losing all of the third quarters to now seemingly falling apart in the fourth quarter. So at least they're moving maybe in the right direction here, I guess. But before we get going, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas. We're also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline's your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, matchup reports, everything you need for boxing, golf, UFC, and more. And you can head to the website and use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% off your welcome deposit on your first deposit. And Bet Online, it's where the game starts. So with that, Jihadi, just for anybody who didn't see the games this week, because there are people apparently who listen to this without watching all of the games right now and rely on us to catch them up, which is appreciated. The Wizards are 2-9. They lost to the 9-3 Dallas Mavericks the other night. It was 130 to 117. Honestly, kind of not really as close as the score. And the game right before that, they lost 111 to 107 to Toronto, despite being up 25 points. I think the Wizards went like the final 6 minutes without a basket and blew 15, 16-point lead at that point. That one was one of the tougher losses I can remember in the last couple of years. So just a tough week so far for Wizards basketball.
Yeah, it has been. It has been, but like I said, it's all about perspective. It's what you're looking at.
Hmm.
At this point, yeah, I'm looking for a win,
Sure.
but I'm looking for also progression.
Yeah.
Right? I do see a lot of progression,
Mhm.
right? Especially that Toronto game. It was a tough loss because that's a game you say, okay, we're finally about to get one.
Yep.
But if you really, to me, that Toronto game really showed me that in segments we can have very good defensive quarters and very good rebounding quarters, right?
Yeah.
So it was a group that was in there that was a group you wouldn't expect to be our best defensive group.
Mhm.
And it was who was in the game? It was Kispert in the game,
Yeah.
Coulibaly,
Yeah.
Muscala, Denny, and then sometime it was Poole, sometime it was Shamit.
Yeah. Shamit's been playing pretty decent defense. He just can't make a shot, unfortunately, so far.
That's the thing I'm about to say.
Yeah.
That group, we didn't really get any crazy offensive looks and didn't even put up a lot of points offensively. But we were able to keep the lead and sustain the lead and progress a little bit because we got to stop and limited them to one shot
Mm-hmm.
every time down the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the group and I'm like, well,
How's
I
this
never
working?
seen this group together first. Secondly, I never would consider this group a great defensive group, but they were just so sound.
Right. Yeah, it goes a long way.
Yeah, they were just so sound.
Yep.
And that was probably the end of the first quarter, the beginning of the second quarter, that phase where they win.
Mm-hmm.
And I never seen us look so solid.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
Defensive wise. And that really kind of helped our starters to come back out there with an extra energy. Now our defense did drop once the starters did go back out, no lie,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that was a sound core that really gave the rest of the team something to harp on and stay on and try to continue.
Yeah, the energy was good, I thought. Like they seemed into it at least. And that's, I don't know, a large portion of the battle. I think this is a little bit of something I wanted to segue into later, but I think this is actually kind of this is good timing. So Josh Robbins of The Athletic wrote an article about Wes Unseld Jr. and their commitment to him at least through the rest of this year, as long as they continue to see the things we're just talking about, right? Like improvement from some of the young guys, improvement from Coulibaly and Denny Avdia, which we've seen. But he talked a lot about the defense, and I don't know. I had a little bit of an issue with some of the things he said here, and it was almost like he basically said outright, like, "Hey, these are excuses for why the defense hasn't been good under Wes Unseld Jr., but they're fair excuses." And I agree to some extent. But he said, "No one would deny that to play effective defense, a group of players must make a legitimate effort on that end. But in sharp contrast to youth leagues and high school ball, which I think is a shot at us amateur fans, but that's okay, effort is not the only ingredient to successful NBA defense. Positional size, athleticism, experience in the NBA, and the trust that stems from experience playing together matter too. To put it another way, even if all the Wizards players put in superb efforts, the defense would still be limited in how well it could perform most nights." I agree with that to some extent, right? Like if you don't have elite guys, you're probably going to struggle, but it doesn't need to be superb effort every night. We just saw that when they had reasonable effort and guys were sound defensively, no one's asking them to lead the league in defense this year. We're just asking them to not be 29th or 30th or whatever they are at the moment. And when these guys are solid, they're putting some good quarters together. It's when guys look apathetic and the effort isn't there that people are just like running the train on them. And honestly, it's hard to watch. And you can see certain guys that are just putting in no effort and they're point switching everything and just like kind of rolling over. So I don't really buy that unless you have like elite defenders 1 through 12, you can't play good NBA defense, or you have to put in maximum effort at all times. Put in good effort with solid guys. You can at least be a middle of the road defensive team, I would think.
Yeah, I don't buy that either. But I also know there's great defensive players and there's great offensive players.
Sure.
And the guy who loves to score usually isn't the best defensive player. You're heavy one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
You're either offensive minded or you're very defensive minded. Now, he also made a point to where how long the guy, if you're a veteran. So the group I just named that I said we had that good defensive core with.
Yeah, not a ton of vets there. I mean,
it actually was.
Coulibaly and Kispert. I mean, I guess
Only
Kispert's a vet.
Coulibaly is not a vet,
yeah,
right?
I guess Kispert's closest to a vet for this team.
Kispert has some years on his belt.
Yeah, that's
Denny has some years on his belt. Muscala, right? So and these guys aren't heavy offensive weapons. They're good offensive weapons. Some of them not at all. Yeah. So they also know how to sustain in the league. So you got a core group of guys that's out there, knows how to sustain in the league, understand, but not guys who are just like a Poole or a Kuzma. And they really came together as just some, your worker bees. And they did a good job because they're more worker bee minded than they're role players.
Right.
And so I think that really, really showed that, okay, it's those type that can really help us out as well. Yeah. So he's do I hear an excuse? Yeah. But is he wrong all the way? No,
I agree. I get it, right? Like I get it. But the effort bothered me. Unless they play, even if they play with maximum effort, they're still not going to be very good defensively. I don't think that's true. Like even a lower end NBA athlete, still a pretty darn good athlete. And these are veteran guys that have found ways to stick in the league for a long time. If they play with really good effort and they play solid defensively and they're bought into the scheme, you're not going to be at the 29th ranked defense in the league this year. Like it just, I don't buy that portion. Like that they can't be good because they don't have the tools to do it is kind of a cop out to me.
Well, yeah, because the first thing it comes down to is principles.
Yeah, right. I agree.
I mean, then go back when you were in high school and they tied a rope up to every player.
Right. And you got to be the 5-man on a string thing. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And so now that's team concept defense.
Yeah.
It starts off with a team concept defense, team concept principles. Are we pushing the baseline? Are we boxing out? Are we pushing the middle? Are we cutting off the volleyball? All those things, right? Yep. So that's the first thing. Like, are they buying into the team concept of defense and what we're putting out there first? Mm-hmm. So now, if there's a missed rotation, not only you know about it, but every player on the floor knows about it, right? And then and he knows he made a missed rotation, right?
And that's how you hold guys accountable when everybody knows who's missing what.
Right. Now, if there's no rotation to be missed, and just get him and switch right, this type of thing,
Yeah.
then no one's there to be held accountable because your teammates can't hold you accountable because there's no principles involved.
Yep.
So now it is all individually.
Mm-hmm.
So then if I'm a coach, it's not on me.
Right. Yeah, I've just washed my hands of it. Like, oh, well, like, I mean,
Right.
that's part of the challenge for me too, is like Wes Unseld is brought in here to be this defensive guru. Like that's supposed to be where he hangs his hat. And there are plenty of teams that have had this level of defensive personnel or even less talented groups that have done more because they schemed things so effectively or they found the right groups. Just what you're talking about. Okay, these guys work well together. They're bought in. This is the defense group. Like this is what we roll with. And for him, my guy Damo from the Wizards of Gallery Place podcast tweeted out a little bit before the show here that the Wizards' defensive ratings under Wes Unseld, they were 25th in the league in 2021, 21st last year, and they're 27th so far this year. They've had decent personnel. KCP is a good defender on every other team but the Wizards. Daniel Gafford has been largely a pretty good defensive player. DeLon Wright, largely a good defensive player. Denny Avdia, a good defensive player. Coulibaly might be the second best defensive player as a rookie in the league this year under Wembanyama, who they're talking about winning defensive player of the year as a rookie. So it's not like you have no dudes. Like, I mean, it's not me going out there and trying to guard NBA players. I just don't buy that if he's this creative defensive genius, they can't be better than bottom 5 every fucking year. Like it's just wearing on me.
You can't be a defensive genius if you're worrying about each player individually.
Yeah, right.
The defensive genius is almost like a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It's a group effort,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's all one brain.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So
what's the scheme? Like how do we work these guys together and make it work?
Right. So it's a plan. It's almost a system.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So to me, your system has to work. And which means it should be able to work with anybody. If you were in the NBA, you're athletic and talented enough to use this system for defense. Right now, if one part of the system breaks down, I get that part. Then it could break down everybody else. But it's still it's a system. So I don't know if it's individuals unless a particular individual is not buying or particular individuals aren't buying into the system.
Yeah. So when this is the thing, right? Like for me, maybe this is not realistic and this is not how you can actually coach an NBA team. But if I know what I'm asking of these guys defensively, I know who's not doing it. And I wouldn't care what their stature is on the team. I wouldn't be playing the guys that aren't at least going to put in the effort to do those things. Certain guys are going to get cooked sometimes. Like it's going to happen. Good offense is going to be good defense, right? But there are guys that are. Well, yeah, exactly. But there are certain guys that are routinely not doing these things. Poole is definitely one of those guys.
Your major players aren't doing or the main ones are not buying the system.
Exactly.
And so now those are and it's not so much Kuzma, but it is Kuzma too.
It is this year for sure.
Yeah. But I think it's him pulling back from the system because he's feeling, okay, no matter how much I dedicate myself to the system, it's not going to work because this guy's not doing what he's supposed to do. And this guy's really not. So
I'm set up to fail here.
Should I kill myself?
Right. I'm probably going to get traded. Do I want to like get killed, fighting through a screen for this team that I'm not going to be on for very long?
Fighting through a screen when I know that I'm not getting help.
Right.
Or I know this guy just going to let his man drive right down the lane and not really play perimeter defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's believe it or not, that's understandable.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least a human feeling or emotion to have is like, F this, like how hard am I going to sell out on a losing team?
Right.
When no one else has bought into this shit either. Like I'll die on the hill that Kuzma was really good defensively last year. Like anyone can fight me on that. I'll pull clips. I don't care. But you listen to like all the best guys in the league when they matched up with them. Like James Harden talked about how hard it was for him to shoot over Kyle Kuzma's length. He still had a good game production wise, but he worked for every one of those points. This year, he's not bringing it. Like he just isn't. And you can see it. And it's a very immediate, like, okay, switch coming. We're immediately switching. Like a guy is 5 feet near me. We're switching this pick already that hasn't happened yet. And I think this is exactly what we're talking about. Poole, I just don't know what he's doing. Like, I'll be very honest. Like, I'm getting tired of like ragging on Jordan Poole. I care less about the offense. Just try like a little tiny effing bit. And I don't know how you fix that part.
Just like the video I sent you.
Yeah.
The video I sent you said it all, though.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody has to bring Poole back to reality a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's young and he's in the sky right now.
Yeah.
Right? And he feel like he can do anything. But I see them reeling him in a little bit offensively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
right?
so.
I see them reeling him in a little bit offensively. I see him becoming a much better facilitator and a dangerous facilitator because how he moves. He's not just facilitating from one spot, or he's an unpredictable facilitator. And
he's shifty and wiggly, and
he's shifty, and he can facilitate from a lot of different angles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps our offense out a lot. So if they can get him slow, and he's still throwing up a lot of crap, right? Throwing up a lot of bullshit, right?
Sure.
But they can at least start to get him in that space
Mm-hmm.
and gradually grow him in that space offensively. How can they not do it defensively? It's the same thing.
Yep. It's a want to thing,
But
right?
A person, just like I said, some people are they're extreme one way or extreme the other way.
Mm-hmm.
The great offensive players and not very good defensive players are great defensive players and not very good offensive players. And then you get that unicorn every now and then, but you still don't get him out the gate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You
right.
got to
Take
make
some development time. Yeah.
Right now, Poole is only offensive minded.
Yeah. The video you referenced, for folks who haven't seen it, is of Jordan Poole like looking away in a timeout. Wes is drawing something up. Multiple teammates are like pushing him to pay attention to the play. And then after the huddle's over, he goes up and tries to see what was on the clipboard and seems to not know what the play is. And just for reference, you sent that to me before I saw it. And so many people dismissed it as, oh, this is just one timeout. This doesn't mean anything. Plenty of NBA players are checked out of timeouts and things like that. Jahadi, you lived this. To me, that's a bad sign. If I had a guy about to go back in the game on my team who was not willing to listen to the coach, that would be a red flag for me. And I mean, it doesn't mean he's doomed here and he's given up on West, but he was clearly pissed about something and pouting.
That's a terrible sign from that particular individual. That's a terrible sign from that type of player.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that type of player on your team, that has to be the most engaged player.
Right. And that's infectious. If he's locked in, everybody else will be.
Right. If he's like just blowing stuff off and I'm doing my own thing, and then he threw a towel at somebody, right? At that exact point in the second, and anybody else on the team see that, everything tanks right then.
Yeah. But Wes sees that. So why don't you say something like, hey, get your ass down here and pay attention? Like, why totally ignore someone totally ignoring you? To me, that doesn't speak to like strong leadership. If you're just gonna like, oh well, I guess what am I gonna do about if he doesn't want to listen? I can't make him. Like, sit his ass down then. Play one of the 5 guys that aren't paying attention. That's
the ultimate coach killer. And if I'm as a coach at that point, you almost have to make a statement.
Yeah,
you have to blow it up and make a
make the example of him. Yeah, exactly.
You got to make a display for your own sake.
Right.
Because if any man sees that, or anybody upstairs sees that, they're gonna notice the same thing we notice. Like, okay, the respect factor is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I would think less of my coach for that if he just let that fly.
Yeah. Right.
That's going to be tough. One of the things I had here for you and is just something I thought was an interesting anecdote. And this is Dane Moore, who covers the Timberwolves, reported this. He said, since training camp, Mike Conley has been saying he works with Anthony Edwards all the time on reading the floor more and having more of a point guard mindset. And he asked Conley after the game if he took some pride in Ant making the read at the end of the game that won them the game. And Conley said, I don't like taking much credit, man, but he's listening. He's really listening. He's doing a good job. That's what leaders do, whether you're a vocal on the court kind of leader. He's taking the reins, putting us on his back, and that's another way you can do it. You don't always have to make the fadeaway. You don't always have to make the big flashy play. You make the right read, and we got rewarded for it. I tweeted this out, and I got some pushback from fans that, well, no one will listen to it. Like, the Wizards don't have a veteran guard on this roster of like some cachet. Like a Mike Conley is a really good player, right? Like people look at him and are like, okay, like he did this at a high level. Is Jordan Poole looking at DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet and thinking like, wow, I can learn so much from these guys. I really need to be paying attention and spending every day in the film room with them. To me, I would go out and try to find, we talked about all these veteran guys. I would find the guy to be in Poole's ear every day. Your former teammate, David Vanderpool, is a point guard who made the right play. I would have him and Vanderpool spend every effing minute of every day together. Like, you do this in this situation, and in this play, you should have done this. Like, maybe he listens, maybe he doesn't. But the fact that, like, oh, he didn't listen to Steph Curry, he's 24 years old. He's in a different situation now. He's not having success. Like, when you fail a little bit and you get public scrutiny, sometimes that opens your ears up a little bit. So maybe he's willing to listen to these guys. Maybe this is happening already. I don't know. But I would want as many, like, veteran savvy ears in his ear, guys in his ear all the time, like beating him over the head with make the right play, make the right play. Here's the right play. Am I crazy? You think that has any help there? I mean, could do any good?
I think it comes down to is he willing to listen or will he listen? Right now, I don't know if he will.
He may not,
right?
But got to try at least.
Right. So he might not be a player like you said, that's willing to listen to this. He doesn't seem like it seems like he's fighting information. Right. And now he's at a crossroad between him losing himself or the type of player he thinks he is and the player he needs to grow into. So and that's what it seems like. He's just fighting it, and he's fighting against it a lot.
How do you break through that though? Like, is it on the coaching staff? Is it on his teammates? Do you just hope it turns around over time? Like,
I'll be honest, you're gonna have to break them down and build them back up. But it's hard to break down somebody that's making over $100 million, right? And the person who's breaking them down. So now it's gonna come down to man, but you're gonna have to break him down to build him back up. But I don't see him handling getting broke down well. Case in point, Golden State. I think it led to them having to break him down that particular way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we all thought this. A lot of people didn't say it, but when we got Poole to come over, we thought, okay, he might be a case. He might be a hard nut to crack,
Sure.
And we're seeing him a slow buy-in with certain aspects.
And it's still
I'm not going to give him and I was tough on Poole, but I'm starting to see, me personally, I'm seeing slow buy-in in certain aspects.
Yeah.
But a big buy-in, that's going to take some tough love, and that's going to be a rocky process.
To me, though, that's why if I'm Wes, I say, like, I'm going to live and die by how this relationship plays out, and I'm going to tough love him. And if you can't do the things we need you to do or are expecting of you, you might ride the bench for 2 games. Like, that's
But does that sound great? That sounds
I know,
awesome.
But that's what I'm saying. But, like,
does Wes have that leverage?
I don't know. And that's
listen.
In the middle of a game, though, it's his call on who plays and who doesn't. Now, he may take some gruff from the front office after that, but he's still got to coach his team. And if their whole goal is to develop Coulibaly and Denny and these young guys, and Poole becomes a detriment to it, I would hope they
have to play.
I'm not saying long term.
And any day is a business.
I understand. I'm not saying bench him forever.
It was been around here a long time.
Sure.
Hey, look, you're making a logical point and you're making sense, right? And I'm not going against what you're saying.
No, but they're not going to do it. I mean, I know.
I don't think it's listen. He can't do it. They got to put butts in the seats too.
Sure.
I mean, they put locally, this organization has a marketing team.
Mm. They market the other team's best players usually, unfortunately, but
Right, but either
I hear
way, we have to market our players. You can't sit the player you're marketing the most.
But how do you market a bad player? He's shooting like 4 for 18 every effing game. Like, I can't market
They
that
did it
either.
before they did it before the season started.
Yeah, I know, but
They create who's going to be the face of the team before the season starts. Right?
I'm just saying, if it were me, I'd die on the hill of I'm going to bring him off the bench the next 2 games and let him get
definitely down
comfortable.
here.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we're not in that position right now. And I get it. Like, I would definitely down the hill. But Wes is already walking a thin line.
right.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
writing's on the wall almost with him anyway. So,
yeah.
like, Wes is in a tight predicament right now.
Aren't you showing your next team though, even if your future is not long here, that you're not going to be bullied by a guy like that?
You
Like
have
you,
to. You have to.
yeah. So it's
Because
got to
I
come from.
bet the next guy they bring in, they're gonna bring someone who's much more tough nosed, some more who,
Yeah,
and I think that's why they're taking the time to say let's West finish this out so we can really, really get someone who's out there who's available
who's
or
the
give
hard
us
ass
a
to come
chance
in
to.
right.
Yeah. And also, and I love West, my guy, but they're really gonna go with somebody that the players going to respect even more just because of this situation and how they saw how this turned out.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. And yeah, it's, honestly, I'm not even shitting on Wes as a basketball mind. Like, he'll know more about basketball than he'll forget more about basketball than I'll ever know. I'm not trying to call him out. I think the offense has actually looked a lot crisper lately, and they're kind of buying in some stuff overall there. So I'm not trying to trash him. It's the people management portion of the business. Not every guy is equipped to handle every particular personality or set of personalities. So you saw this in Atlanta with like the Lloyd Pierce thing with Trae Young. Lloyd Pierce, great developmental guy, just got walked all over. They brought in Nate McMillan and they were like, nah, like this shit will not fly. And now eventually Nate kind of burned out there too. But at least for a while, there were like immediate dividends between like, this is like the standard that we're setting for the organization. And him being the hard ass seemed to work for them, at least for a while. Now you might have a short shelf life doing that, but
Right.
I don't know. They've got to do something about the Poole thing. And it's not to rag on Jordan Poole. Certain guys are certain ways. You got to find the right way to reach every guy. And it doesn't seem like they found the way to reach him yet.
Yeah. I agree with you.
All right. So that's the bad. We got that out of the way. Let's go back to the good here. Bilal Coulibaly is good as shit at basketball. Like, he's already better than I expected him to be by the end of this year. Like, the defense is impressive. He's smooth offensively. He gets the ball to the right people. The shooting looks better already. He's shooting like 50% from 3, I think. I don't have it in front of me, but like it's cleaner. This is a guy that is somehow like not on national top 10 rookie rankings so far, which is crazy to me. Like, he's clearly one of the 5 best rookies in the league this year. So they're better when he's on the court. Like, the net rating is better. He's already making an impact for them, at least defensively and in transition. So I'm just very pleased with what we're seeing with him so far.
For him to be so young, he's a very wise, poised,
Yeah,
cerebral player.
mm-hmm.
Right? Think about to be that young and to read the passing lane or read a defender like he is.
Yeah.
You see how many steals he gets? How many places?
Sick.
How many places he's in? How he's always in the right place, right?
Just on that real quick, Jahani, in the Raptors game, Coulibaly became the first Wizards rookie since John Wall to record 3+ steals in back-to-back games. That's nuts.
Crazy. And he's sometimes you can't tell if he's athletic, and then he'll block a shot.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe even that one he goaltended, he was on the top of the box.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, man, like,
how to do that?
Right. So he's a very sound, but he's a smart. He's very instinctual for his age. He's very instinctual, and he's so poised. He's almost like I call him the rookie vet.
Yeah.
Because
right.
You know how old folks see a baby and be like, "Oh, she been here before. She got an old soul." You know how they say that.
Yep.
Coulibaly played NBA ball before somewhere in the next lifetime, in the past lifetime.
It feels like it.
Yeah, it feels like it. And I just like where he's going. I like he does it. Most rookies overdo things.
Yeah.
Right? They try things out. He don't do anything he can't do, but he's not afraid to do everything he can do.
Yeah, I love that. That's what
right?
you said.
And so he's confident in it, and he's poised in it, right? You know, I think so. I always said that Coulibaly was going to be our biggest surprise, but I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there's more to him than what I thought.
Yeah, same. The shooting has been the biggest thing for me. The defense, like I saw enough of him last year to know like he could like cause some problems, but I lied.
He had a downhill game.
I did not. I didn't think he'd put the ball on the floor as well as he has. And I said I lied a minute ago. I said he's shooting 50% from three. I grossly exaggerated. It's only 47.2% from three. So
that's awful.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta work on that for him. In this most recent game, he had 10 points on 4 of 5 shooting, 2 of 2 from 3, had a career best 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 block in 28 minutes off the bench. And honestly, did a pretty solid job of guarding Luka Doncic without fouling a ton. Like, that's huge already. I think
that's a tough assignment, too.
Yeah, no shit. Like, no one else in the league does that.
And crazy thing is, if I'm on the Wizards, I'm a coach, I look down, I'm like, Coulibaly, Bilal, get your butt in there. Because he's the only guy I can think of.
Yeah.
At that age, and as being a rookie, he's the only guy on my entire roster I can think of putting on Luka.
Yeah.
And would possibly do a best job than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot, but that's also, I don't know if that says a lot or if that's awful, if that's bad.
It's both.
You know?
I'm with you. It's somehow both. Like Denny has done a pretty decent job on Luka historically. It's just he fouls a little too quickly. The fact that Bilal guarded him pretty well without like immediately fouling out as a rookie is the thing I was like most impressed by. But my favorite part, the other night they got blown out in the fourth quarter against, I think, the Toronto game. He said, or no, losing track, but Coulibaly said, defensively, we're not playing for each other. We're not in the right rotations. We're not respecting what we're supposed to do. It's all the stuff we just talked about. The rookie guy already gets.
Man, he's
exactly what you said. Yeah.
He's played in the league before.
Yeah.
In the past lifetime. But he came in as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
Came in as a top professional.
Yep.
He came in as a player on a team that the rest of the world wanted to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He came in playing in all intense situations.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, so it's nothing he hasn't seen.
It's true.
I mean, every team overseas wanted to play. What was the name of that team? The team Wembanyama was on.
Metropolitans 92.
Yeah, the Mets.
Yep.
Mets 92, right? Every team in the world wanted to play them. Yeah. So he got the best of the best from everyone every night that he had to compete against.
Yeah. And
he's more than prepared for the NBA.
Yeah. This is a dude that it wasn't like handed to him either. Like Wembanyama, everybody's been talking about since he was 14. Coulibaly wasn't supposed to play on that team, and they played him just because they wanted practice bodies to run with Wembanyama. And then they're like, oh shit, this guy can do some stuff. And then it was, well, he's on the end of the bench. Well, now he can play. Now he's in the rotation. Okay, now he's the first guy off the bench. Now he's a starter. Now he's running pick and roll to close games. It's when you can just like scale up that quickly. I'm like the basketball IQ, I think we're like significantly like undervaluing here for him. And hopefully that rubs off on all these other guys.
No, I mean, he's processing things so fast.
Yeah.
He's taking in. He's a person to be able to take in that much information that quickly in that little time, and to pour it back out in the right way.
Yeah.
Right. And prime example, what he just said in his interview. He sounds like a coach.
Exactly right.
Like,
The vets
oh,
aren't even saying that.
he sounds like a LeBron James,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
With his understanding and like how he's processing the information and really clearly he's seeing it vividly, and he's processed. Like, come on, man, that's no rookie says anything like that.
It's true. Yeah,
First of all, they don't even see it.
exactly. That's the biggest thing, right? To have the poise to say
They
it is
can't
one thing.
comprehend that yet.
Yeah, they're usually just running around getting cardio in, and if it works
Yeah.
out, great. But
Come on,
uh,
rush,
the other
man.
the other nice thing, Neil Dalal of Hoop District asked Coulibaly how tall he is currently, and he said he's 6'8" without shoes. He was 6.75 inches on draft night, so he's grown almost an inch and a half since he's been here.
They asked him or they measured him.
They asked him, and he was pretty
Well, I
upfront
don't
about
go
it
off
before,
that.
but he looks taller than me. He looks taller to me than he did watching him play last year. Maybe just because he's filled out a little bit more, but
He's 6'8"
he said
without
6'8"
shoes. So
without
now
shoes.
he's 6'9".
Uh 6'8" without shoes, so 6'9" ish. Yeah,
Maybe
with
6'9".
shoes on. Yeah.
He may be.
I don't know about you. I tweeted this out when I saw that clip. I was 5'5" at 14, and I was 6 feet tall at 15, and I have not grown since then. So when guys grow at 19, 20 years old, it pisses me off personally because I did not experience that. But some of these
Yeah.
dudes like Giannis grew, 2-3 inches since joining the league too. So it's not out of
Oh
the realm
yeah.
of possibility he keeps getting bigger.
That just gives me hope when guys grow at 19. When
Yeah,
Jason
right.
Tatum came in at 6'7", now he's
Yeah,
6'10".
yeah,
I'm like, okay,
yeah.
possibility.
You see Tatum in person, right? Like he has definitely gotten bigger. That's not like a
I
media hype
look at
thing.
him like this now. I
Yeah,
used to look at him like this.
right. Yeah, that's just crazy. Um, all right, let's clean up the chat here a little bit and check in on some of these things. So let's see. Stephen Fine asked, "Would the Wizards hire John Wall as a coach?" That will never happen. Not
No.
while Ted Leonsis owns the team. That ended poorly for a reason. You also had shit where like Wall and Beal like basically bullied Otto Porter. He hit a coach while he was here. Like they're not going to do that to bring him in as a guy to teach other young men, no matter how savvy he is about reading the game. It just won't happen here. Like maybe he coaches somewhere down the road. I've seen people ask about Gilbert Arenas. That shit's not happening either.
That's
Like,
definitely not happening.
yeah. So I appreciate the comment, but they would never.
I mean, not saying it shouldn't. I'm just saying it won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Certain sports are now saying, okay, let me get a guy's guy in that they can relate to.
Yeah.
It's just a level of professionalism that you kind of have to sustain in this league to be a coach.
Yeah.
Not saying those guys can't do it.
They have not shown it thus far.
It's just, it's a lot. It would be a lot of forgiveness first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a maybe later in life kind of thing. And for Wall, I think he still wants to play, and this is not a team that seems to want to make something like that happen. Will Clayton said, Josh Robbins mentioned that the post-game interviews could have just been Bilal echoing sentiments from Wes as well, which would make a lot of sense, but I think that he said it of his own volition. Yeah, I like to think that he said it of his own volition. Yeah, I agree. Like whether he's regurgitating what he hears from his coaches or not, it's good. His teammates don't do that shit, so at least he's taking something in and repeating it, and I can live with that.
Yeah, I hope the NBA doesn't being on the wrong, coming in and being on certain organizations that's in a revamped situation, or some in a breakdown situation sometime, or just chaos sometimes. You can come into chaos sometimes, and it can ruin your perspective of how you see the league, or and it can change you into a different type of person and different type of player. I do hope that this was coming directly from Coulibaly. Secondly, I hope that in the process of them getting the Wizards where they want to in the long run, it doesn't affect him. He don't get. I'm looking for a specific word, but
he's not going to become jaded because of all the other stuff.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's happened to a lot of Wizards rookies the last couple years. Like, I tweeted something the other day about the guys I was most excited about of guys drafted by the Wizards outside of the lottery the last decade or two. And both JaVale McGee and Andre Blatch were two
Oh, boy.
guys that physically I was like, holy shit, I have never seen stuff that JaVale McGee was doing from anybody. But he came in and was surrounded by a bunch of goofballs, and
Right.
he acted like a goofball. And it took him getting to places
And
like
it,
Gold
it, it
State.
infected them, right? He got
Yeah.
infected, and and so I just hope it don't torment him and break him down. I want him. He already has come in as a professional,
Right.
and I heard being overseas is more of a different mindset, of
Yeah.
team mindset. It gets you back into the NBA can be very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
You and I know this, right? And that's why there's good teams, and then there's a lot of not really good teams
Mm-hmm.
because how selfish the players can be,
Yeah.
right? And so a player like him is special, and I don't want him to get infected by the selfish part of the NBA.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. One guy I would like to see be more selfish is Wizards second year player Johnny Davis. Still looks tentative and unsure of himself offensively out there. The jump shot is like getting worse again. It's done this like weird peak and valley thing of like sometimes the form looks normal. I think we've got to be in like a Markelle Fultz situation where like the lower body injuries changed the form in some way, and now it's like hitchy, and it looks like Charles Barkley's like golf swing. Like that's what we're dealing with now. But he guards the shit out of people on a team that doesn't have a lot of guys that want to guard people. And Wes Unseld Jr. said that on what Johnny Davis has to do to get minutes, right now it's a little bit of a logjam. It's not necessarily Johnny. It's just a byproduct of the numbers. He'll get opportunities, though. My challenge to him is just stay ready. I hate that. I couldn't hate that anymore. If you've already said that, like, we don't care about wins and losses, we care about seeing growth from young guys, that doesn't track. Like, if you're not going to play Davis, like, unless you've totally given up on him as a front office and you just can't unload the contract, maybe. So maybe that's coming from them. But to me, I would want to give him every opportunity to see what he can really do. Like playing Landry Shamet right now does nothing for them. Again, not to just keep shitting on Landry Shamet or Anthony Gill or any of these guys, but they're not in the long-term future. Davis may not be either, but like, let's make absolutely sure that this is the guy or isn't the guy. And to me, at least if he's smart enough to put in effort and defend at a high level, like that means he's trying and he's getting what's happening. So I think the offense would come over time. Wes also said that it's hard to get him in there because they don't want to tinker with lineups too much and throw off the synergy. That's bullshit because they've thrown every lineup combo you can think of out there. Some of the two-way guys are playing. So I don't know. It just makes me angry to hear that they're going to squander this guy completely, and he'll probably go be somewhere good, like be good on his second contract somewhere.
I don't think it's always them squandering the guy. So first of all, we see the same team they see.
That's true.
It's not too much to be a logjam for.
Right.
To be a logjam, right? Like, let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not buying that. Secondly, we know they're trying to clear their roster.
Yeah.
Clearly got a lot of guys. For you to be able to clear a lot of guys, you have to put them on display.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe he's not on display because they have a bigger, longer plan for him to be there and be around. We can still just develop him now. And just, maybe.
Yeah. No, this is the only thing I can hope for.
Landry Shamet, a guy that
right.
we don't consider better than Davis, so we can get something for him.
Mm-hmm.
So we're able to free it up, right? So they can say when it's time to free him up, we say, okay, well, he's calculating these many minutes. Mm-hmm. He's that much effective of a player, right? Sure. So it can be used for some type of leverage, maybe that he's on the bench. But in the end of the day, you don't want to also kill the player's spirit. But I mean, usually when you get a guy like that, you're in the first round, you don't just give him up.
Not the
And if
10th
they're
pick
willing,
usually.
and if you know they're putting time into him and working with him,
Mm.
and you know how good of a defensive player he is, I think they just may be saying, "Hey, let's pause him for a while. He's young. We got time with him."
Yeah. I hope that that's the answer. Like, I really do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a bad look. I only and it's not to push back to you because I think you're making the logical argument there. It's just if I'm another front office exec of some sort, do I really need to see what Landry Shamet looks like in minimal run for the Wizards to know what he can give me at this point? Like, is his game going to be drastically
Well,
changed in any way?
maybe he go if you give him enough time, he get comfortable. Maybe he can, you know, these young players they can really become, you know, they may give you something of leverage if you
Yeah.
know, right? So let's give him the opportunity.
Mhm.
If we don't lose anything.
Yeah.
It's only a situation where we can say, hey, let's try to gain a little more. We're not going to lose with anything less.
Right. No, that's
And
good.
if we're really trying to push this guy, we got to put him on display. I've seen it happen. I've
Mhm.
seen it happen on the teams I played on a lot, where a guy was been playing a lot, and all of a sudden, boom, he stopped playing. And
Mhm.
then some guy who's not playing at all starts playing a lot.
Yeah.
And then you slowly see, then
They got a plan
that's
here.
what
Yeah.
happened. Right.
Nice.
So I think that may be the case.
I very much hope so. I need that to be the case, not that they've given up already here. Couple comments from the chat here. Hostway said JJ Redick as some sort of coach or consultant. Joe Swam said Rajon Rondo. I really like the Rondo one. I don't know if he has interest in an NBA one, but all the guys that played with him said that he was like the number one guy that helped them learn to study film, like understand the game, like break down everything. Like that's the kind of guy I think would be really intriguing. JJ has already interviewed for a few head coaching jobs, so I think someone will hire him in some way eventually. But Rondo makes a
Rondo
lot of sense
can't
to me.
be assistant.
Can't be an assistant.
His personality is too strong.
Yeah, I could see that too. He's coaching
And
his AAU
Rondo
team right
and
now, I think. Yeah,
Poole needs a Rondo.
yeah, he'd be great.
Poole needs exactly that's the perfect person or the perfect coach, right? But Rondo is Rondo more of a college coach.
I could see that. Yeah, he's gonna kind of push guys to in. Yeah, like
Yeah, because these are grown men.
right.
You know what I'm saying? But you're going to respect Rondo. But I think Rondo also is the best. It's like a Stackhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Rondo and Stackhouse is
Yeah, no nonsense, right?
right, no nonsense, right? So, and that's what the Wizards going to need, a Stack or a Rondo type.
Yep.
Now, also, you know, you're just gonna have to work with him because I seen Rondo turn a team around in a week.
Yeah.
Right. I coached against Rondo in the Elite 100 NBPA Elite 100.
Mm-hmm.
This guy in 3 days put together and made a team mentally, physically, buy in to everything in 3 days. Took a vacation, had to go somewhere else for 2 days.
Yeah.
The camp was only a week. Came back on the 5th day. His team was in the championship game and won the championship game. That's how much he had those players eating out of his hand in a week. That's
Yeah.
how. That's
I like the
how
sound of
far.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've sold me. I would take it. I mean, even if he's better on the on a college roster, it still seems like that's somebody who could help. To be fair, he also did like basically have a knockdown, drag out fight with Rick Carlisle in Dallas, and that blew up quickly. So to your point, strong personality. And if he
That's what I'm
comes in,
saying. He has to be the head coach.
yeah, if he's your assistant and doesn't like what you're doing, he might actually try to fight you. And I don't know if
No,
that's good.
he's going to be a bigger voice than you.
Right. True. Yeah.
No matter if you're a head coach, he's going to be a bigger voice than you. So if you don't mind him being a bigger voice than you, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be the biggest voice, then it's going to come to heads.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Just transitioning here a little bit. The game against the Raptors, they, like we talked about already, had a big collapse, up 16 with 6 minutes left, didn't make a field goal the rest of the game. The final 3 plays, inbounded the ball out of bounds, couldn't actually foul Dennis Schroeder. and basically just kind of gave up on the last like 5 seconds of the game. In the game before that, they gave up a 25-6 third quarter run or fourth quarter run against the Hornets, a 20-5 fourth quarter run against the Nets, and a 21-1 fourth quarter run against the Raptors. Those are the ones that are hard to stomach. I don't know what you do about it, but one of the things that was a trend in both of those games, or in all three of those games, is Gafford came out for key stretches when those teams went on those runs, especially against Toronto. They got abused on the boards, and Wes said he took Gafford out to bring in another ball handler to beat Toronto's pressure, but they got abused at the rim. Like, it became a layup line for Siakam, and there was the Clippers loss last year or the year before. I can't even remember now. It's been so blocked out of my memory, but he benched Gafford, and they got destroyed at the rim and gave up a huge 35-point lead. To me, if I'm the front office, what I'm hearing from this is I can't afford like these guys to not have a rim protector of some sort on the court with them. And having Gallinari be your backup 5 when he's like totally immobile, it just, your perimeter defense is so bad. Gafford has to cover up for so much. When he comes out, there is no plan B. And I would be looking for somebody in the trade deadline area here just to like bolster that a little bit, because you can't even see what guys can do if they're just getting run out on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have like appropriate context and a solid center on the court, I think, just to even be able to evaluate everybody else properly.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation before. I think sometimes they look for too much.
Yeah.
Right. If you're gonna get a Gallinari, then you're not looking for what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, you're gonna get more offensive presence than defensive presence.
Sure.
Right. And that's not what we need.
No, not with that group.
Right. So we need just a specific traditional basket protecting, can move his feet big.
Mm-hmm.
So we keep going I feel like we're going for the wrong types of bigs.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to old, like traditional bigs who are not very athletic, that can at least, okay, well, he's averaging this much. He's averaging this much. He can stretch the floor. We look for all this stretch the floor, new school. Like, we need an old school, just long African. I mean, not no, but like.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, just a tall, athletic guy to come in there and just be in the way.
Yeah, just be in the way. Change shots. You don't need him for anything else. Right. And then on the offensive end, if he can dip in every now and then, he just throw it up and dunk it. But and we're getting the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going for the complete opposite. Now Gafford, now he's protecting the rim a little better now. Mm-hmm. Right. They're starting to include him in the offensive a little bit better, and he's putting up some better numbers. But to me, also, he has to realize he's now playing better to the point where he's now included in the offense more. So they're looking at you. So I just feel like now they're looking at him more than they normally would. Mm-hmm. And he's not ready for the catches. So he just has to be ready for now and say, hey, I always have to be on point that this, a pass may come from anywhere. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's points where he does rim protect. I still want him to do this next thing. Yeah. He may block a shot, then he don't do the next thing. And he lets a lot still go at the rim, but I see what he's doing. Yeah. He's learning to say, hey, I'd rather stay in the game.
I can't foul out immediately.
Right. He's saying, I can't protect everything. I'd rather stay in the game so I can get mine instead of having to really protect everything all the time.
Yeah. I respect somebody that wants to challenge literally everything, but when you have that porous a perimeter defense, you're going to be challenging literally every possession.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way to efficiently do that.
It's not fair to him.
Yeah. And to your point, that's a great call about, I think he has been a lot more judicious about like, okay, this one is worth me picking up a foul on.
Right.
Or whatever. So Joe Swam said at least 3 times every game, I'm convinced that Gafford is seriously injured and will need to come out of the game. He usually shakes it off, but it makes me nervous. This is Jahai's biggest thing, recurring theme on the show is how often Gafford falls down. And It's been a little less, I feel like. Just like a little.
And then he stayed down there and grimace and just play the role. Like, hey, man, you 7 feet, bro. It's 7 feet. We can't do what the little guys do.
Exactly. Right? Trae Young can get away with that.
But. Can't roll around the floor and ooh and ah. We got to get our big ass up and play. Mm-hmm. There's a respect factor when you're a certain height.
Exactly. You got to hold it down for the rest of the 7
foot
level.
You can't. Certain things, when you get past a certain height, you can't do anymore. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't do it anymore.
Yep.
Right. People look at you weird.
Speaking of the younger big guys, the Capital City Go-Go played a couple games now. They played on Wednesday afternoon at 11:30 a.m., which is still a weird time to me for a G League game, but it was kind of nice on the lunch break to have a little something to watch there. Amarui was ridiculous. He had like 30 points and 15 rebounds or whatever the case may be. He looked like a man against boys on a G League court. But John Butler Jr., the guy they picked up as a second-year player out of Florida State, he's literally 195 pounds, soaking wet, at 7 feet tall. But he was like actively trying to challenge and, like contest stuff. And he's too skinny to be an NBA center right now. But I appreciated the same kind of thing where like guys are not going to score at the rim easily against us. And, maybe there's something there, at least like the mindset. So between him and Amarui, I'm excited to see what they're slightly undersized, vertically and horizontally undersized front court can do.
Yeah, I think Amarui could be a good player for us eventually. Yeah. He has to be a smart player for him to be able to get a chance.
Right, exactly.
Like, they gave him a chance, and you're not going to get too many opportunities. Yeah. So you got to know when you do have your opportunity that you have to be ready for it. And you like, Amarui reminded me kind of somewhat of myself. He's a different player than I was, but he's physical too. Mm-hmm. And I would go out there, big staff would put me in the game, and I'd get quick fouls and sit back down. Put me in the game again. Next day, do it again. Next game, do it again. And Mitch Richmond said, "Man, you see what's going on?" I was like, "What?" Like, you getting the opportunity.
Yeah, can't waste that.
You're just throwing away. Every time you go out there, you just go act wild and foul. And I feel like that's how Amarui is, because he's trying to prove himself so much that he think he's proving himself by being physical and extra physical, but you're not staying in the game. Mm-hmm. And eventually they're going to stop giving you those opportunities. Show them you can play.
Yeah. Especially like the Hornets game and stuff, where their other bigs were just beating us on effort and energy. That's the game, I think, where he can make the most kind of impact. Asking him to guard Embiid.
Impact on any game, because he's just he's undersized with a big body, which is kind of like a Zion type of body.
And he's physical, stocky.
Physical. Kind of yeah. Now big, he can hold you on your your equilibrium, like the level he is perfect for just to put a big right where he can't move. Right. Yeah, so he's versatile. Then he can move his feet and guard a 1 through a 5. Mm-hmm. Right. If he just goes out there and actually plays smart and quit going out there and just acting like wild and fouling everybody, he would now, I feel, be a more part of the rotation right now to this day. Because he had his opportunities, and if he just approaches opportunities correctly, he'll get them again.
Yeah, I think so too.
But he could be a factor in our rotation right now.
The other portion of this for him is just being a two-way player. There's only so many games he can play throughout the course of the year too. So I think they're going to give him some opportunities to go out and just see if he can like dominate a G League game. And it's nice to see that he did that already. So
and G League is good. Some great players in G League, mm-hmm. but it's the G League for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
But certain players like those two you mentioned, they're definitely NBA caliber players. They can play in this game.
Yep.
And we stopped seeing it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. Rollins had some good plays too. Jared Butler had some good plays. So Patrick Baldwin Jr. had a couple moments. He also did some dumb shit. So I don't know. I still don't know how to feel about him, but hey, it's all good. At least to have the young guys progress in the right way here. Jody, anything else Wizards related here you want to hit on before we get out of here?
Keep hope alive.
in Coulibaly we trust. I think
yes.
I'm gonna
Right.
focus on that. Just kind of off topic here, real quick to close us out. James Plowright, that covers the Hornets, at previously the Bobcats, I guess. Wanted to know if you had any stories or anecdotes about Gerald Wallace or Emeka Okafor.
Gerald Wallace, no other than he just was a freak athlete,
Yeah.
great guy, great player. And any of Mecca stories, I wouldn't be able to tell on here. But he's a great guy too.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked him in his 1 year with the Wizards too. I think if he'd stayed healthy a little longer, he probably would have been a pretty good fit here.
Oh,
Although he also turned him into Gortat, and that worked pretty well.
yeah,
too.
Mecca had a unique game. He's had such a untraditional type of style of play that you would think he wasn't good, and then you
Yep.
look up and he's got like 20 points. You're like,
How did he do that? Yeah.
yeah, wow, like it's not because he plays straight up,
Mhm.
his back would be straight up, and it's just quirky shots. But those are most, effective players sometimes because they just are completely out the box of normal rhythm of basketball.
Right. How do you scout that too? When
Yeah.
the cadence is kind of different than everybody
Right.
else. That's great. All right. I appreciate everybody following along here in the chat. Really good presence. One other comment, just shout out. Joe Swam said, we got to get this video up to more than 6 likes. I very much agree with that. So if everybody is willing to hit that little like button for us, that's great. Trying to grow the channel here. The more eyes we get on this from likes and
Come on, guys,
shares and all
support.
that stuff. Yeah, exactly. It continues to build it up with the fan base and all that kind of good stuff. So we always appreciate that. Reviews are great too. Brought to you by betonline.ag. So appreciate them sponsoring the show. If you would like to sponsor the show or a segment or anything else like that, let us know. We'll definitely hook you up there. But as always, this is Believe in Wizards, and we will catch y'all next time.